Yeah, we back. Yeah, we back. Now, today, man, we're going to be talking about Uranium, the French multinational uranium company, Uranium. Now, this video is going to be a follow-up video to a series of videos I've made in recent months. Going all the way back last month, I dropped this video entitled, Niger cuts off France's uranium supply, forcing a desperate government bailout. Now, when France had lost their operating license at this uranium mine within weeks, they ended up reporting hundreds of millions of dollars in losses. So much so that the French government had to go into the treasury, had to go into the state coffers and save the company. Now keep in mind, Uranium is a company that is owned by the state, which means that it is owned by the French government. It is not a private company. It is owned and operated by the state. Now, 2 weeks ago, I dropped a video entitled, France admits uranium loss in Niger. Now, in that video, we spoke about how Uranium, the multinational, actually came out and made a statement. They made a press release to the public, basically admitting and acknowledging that they have lost control over the uranium mine in Niger, right? All their operations in Niger have come to a crashing halt, and they basically came out and let the investors know, let the people know, let the world know that we have no access to the uranium at the current moment. Now, let's continue. This video is also a follow-up video to one I dropped 11 days ago entitled, Niger faces a lawsuit after kicking out Canadian uranium company. So, if you watched that video, then I'm sure you already know we had spoken about another Western multinational by the name of GoVX, a uranium company that also had lost their operating license in Niger. And they decided that they're not going to take that line down. We're going to go to court, right? We're going to take it to court. We're going to go to the international authorities, right? So now France is actually doing something similar with Uranium, right? They want to go to court. They want to get it settled in court. You know, they're not going to take a line down. Remember, like I said, if you watched the last video, they said, we are going to defend our rights. So I guess they have begun proceedings to defend their so-called rights. Now, like I told you in that last video, I don't believe they have any rights to defend, but obviously they feel differently. So let's get into it. Now, just to jog your memory, or just to get you caught up in case you haven't been keeping up with the developments, take a look up on the screen. All this began over the summertime, back in June. Take a look at this headline. Niger pulls a French firm's permit for a big uranium mine, right? Then shortly after that, French nuclear fuel company, Uranium, reports significant losses amid challenges in Niger, right? So the company ended up reporting damn near $150 million in losses just for the first 6 months of the year, right? And obviously those losses would continue on for the second half of the year, which ended up with, take a look up on the screen, French uranium group Uranium receives a 300 million euro injection from the state, right? So France had to inject 300 million euros into the company to basically save the company and revamp and relaunch the company, because now they lost one of their best uranium suppliers, right? Where they got the best price. They ended up losing, their best plug, right? So now they had to go to the drawing board, re-inject some money into the company, reinvest in the company, and start over, right? They had to bail out the company. Now, earlier this month, at the beginning of the month, on the 4th of December, take a look at this headline. Uranium says Niger has taken control of the uranium mine. Niger's military government seizes control of French uranium operations. The French nuclear group Uranium has announced that authorities in Niger have taken operational control of its uranium mining unit in an escalating conflict between the company and the country's ruling government. Now, fast forward to today. I believe this article came out today. Uranium initiates arbitration against Niger over uranium mining license. Now, just like the Canadian uranium company, GoVX, now you have France and Uranium doing the exact same thing. We're going to we want to go to court. Right, we want to go to the international authorities. We want to settle this in court. The audacity. But let's continue. Let's get into it. Take a look up on the screen. French nuclear fuel company Uranium said on Friday that it had started arbitration proceedings against Niger after Niger withdrew the mining license of Uranium subsidiary. Niger's military government has stepped up their pressure in recent months on foreign investors. A representative for the government did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Like I told you, bro, them boys do not speak in the media, right? They be knocking on them boys. They be knocking on doors trying to get a statement. Please, Mr. Chiani, sir, please, can I have a statement? Please, Mr. Traore, sir, please, can I have a statement? Please, Mr. Assimi Goita, sir, can I please have a statement? No answer. No response. Let's continue. Uranium said in June that Niger had removed the mining permit for Uranium. Now, we spoke about the Uranium mine in the last video, right? One of the largest uranium deposits on planet Earth, right? Like I told you, the black man is very blessed. The black man just has a lot of, beautiful things at his disposal. One of the largest uranium deposits on planet Earth. And the French government had lost access. And of course they mad. Let's continue. And the following month, Canada's Govy X Uranium said that they too had been stripped of their right to develop a uranium project in Niger. Earlier this month, Urano said authorities in Niger had seized control of its Somer uranium mine. Niger accounts for about 4% of the global output of uranium, the most widely used fuel for nuclear energy. Barrick Gold said on Wednesday that it would initiate arbitration in their dispute with Mali. So we spoke about that also. Barrick Gold also wants to take Mali to court. So Govy X and Urano want to take Niger to court, and Barrick Gold wants to take Mali to court. Now we got another statement coming directly from the company, coming directly from Urano. Take a look up on the screen. They said this. Urano initiates arbitration against the state of Niger following the withdrawal of the Uranium exploitation license. Exploitation license. Let's continue. December 20th, 2024. Urano has initiated international arbitration against the state of Niger following the withdrawal of the exploitation license on June 19, 2024. This procedure follows several months of unsuccessful attempts at mediation and reconciliation. The announcement of the license withdrawal took place despite Urano having submitted to the state of Niger a concrete technical proposal allowing for the most rapid possible development of the Uranium deposit, with work on the site having resumed since June 2024. The group has engaged the services of the law firm Clay Arbitration to defend its rights. Goddamn. Now, let's get into it, brothers. Let's get into it. Now, like I mentioned before, I don't really think that these multinationals really have a leg to stand on, especially when there's already legal precedents. I believe there's been past cases in the past where nations have decided to nationalize their resources, and when the multinational, or when the outside foreign investor tried to fight against it, they ended up losing in court. So there's already legal precedents on the books in regards to these type of cases. Usually the state comes out on top because the state has an obligation to its citizens above all else, not the foreign investors, right? The foreign investors, you come secondary, right? The primary beneficiary should always be the citizen. So the state has a responsibility to its citizens that if they feel that something is not beneficial to the mass of the citizens, they can terminate the agreement, terminate the contract, right? And usually, like I said, the state usually comes out on top in these agreements, in these disagreements. So I don't think, like I said, when it comes to Govy X or Urano, I just think both of y'all just running y'all mouth, man, to be honest with you. I think both of y'all just running y'all mouth. You don't really have a case to stand on, especially Urano, with this long history of corruption, its long history of unethical business practices, its long history of environmental damage, its long history of financial corruption, its long history of paying bribes, so much so that, like I mentioned before, Urano had to change their name, right? The original name of the company was Areva, but because the company was involved in so many scandals, so much unethical business, so much bribery and corruption, they had to change their name from Areva to Urano to basically rebrand the company, to revamp the company. So if Niger goes to court and simply runs down your long history of corruption and bad business and unethical business dealings, man, you're going to look terrible in court, my friend. You're going to look terrible in court. You're going to be embarrassed in court. Forget the case, bro, because you're going to make yourself look terrible in court, to the point where you might not ever be able to do business in a foreign country when we get done with you. Any decent lawyer, if he's worth a damn, can destroy your case in court, can completely destroy your reputation and your image, completely undermine your image. All we got to do is go down France's long history of corruption and dealings in West Africa, go down Urano's long history of corruption and dealings in West Africa, and by the end of the case, the black man is going to be looking dignified and honorable, and you're going to be looking like a damn crook. You're going to be looking like a thief. You're going to be looking like a criminal at the end of the case, right? When we get done destroying your reputation. So I suggest you stay home, bro. I suggest you just forget about the case and don't embarrass yourself. But anyways, man, let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media. This person said, fortunately, for the leaders of the AES, they do not care about the West. They have no goods, no bank accounts, or anything there. Now, that is a very underrated point. That is a very underrated point. And I mentioned that before, but one of the main things that allows Ibrahim Traoré and Assimi Goïta and General Chiani to assert their sovereignty against the West is because they don't have their hands tied to the West, right? They don't have any foreign bank accounts. They don't have any luxury properties in Paris or London, right? They don't have any of their children attending Ivy League schools in California or Massachusetts or New York, right? They don't have any family members living under, Western visas, right? So, which means that they have true freedom to say what they want and do what they want without being bribed or coerced. One of the main weaknesses of many leaders, especially African leaders, is because you cannot really assert your sovereignty. Why? Because you got money stashed away in Western banks, right? You got a condo up in London, up in New York, right? You got your daughter going to school in the United States, right? You got your family overseas living in the West, working in the West, which means that you cannot assert your sovereignty because outside forces have leverage over you. If you step out of line, they can simply freeze your bank account, right? If you step out of line, your family might lose their visas. Your children studying overseas might lose their scholarships. Or maybe you got a wife and she likes to go shopping in New York, in Miami, in Paris, right? So you don't want to get embarrassed when she lands in the airport and her visa gets rejected, right? So you better stay in line, right? So your wife can go shopping in London. And we can't forget about that multi-million-dollar property that you got overseas in the gated community, right? You don't want that property to be seized by the government for money laundering, right? So you better stay in line. You better play ball. So that's the predicament that a lot of leaders find themselves in, right? You got a bank account overseas. You got a Swiss bank account. You got a luxury home out in France, right? You got your kids studying in London. So therefore, you are not really free to govern in the way that you want. But in this predicament, when you look at the leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, they don't have that type of leverage hanging over their head, right? So Ibrahim Traore doesn't have, he doesn't have a mansion in Paris. So Emmanuel Macron can't go to Ibrahim Traore and say, listen, you better play ball or we're going to take that mansion back. We're going to seize the mansion. Listen, all of his assets are local, right? All of their assets are local. So you can't bribe them by taking their property back. You can't freeze their offshore bank accounts because they don't exist. So in this predicament, the Western powers don't really know how to navigate against these brothers because you have no weak points to exploit. You have no weakness to exploit, right? They're not tied to your banks. They're not tied to your visas or your schools. So you can't really control them in the usual manner that you're accustomed to, right? You can't freeze their assets. You can't revoke no visas. So what can you really do? And then on top of that, they invest the majority of the national budget into military spending. So you got to see Goita over in Mali going around shaking down the CEOs for all the type of back taxes and renegotiating contracts. And I guarantee all that money is going to go straight into military spending and military defense. So now you have a group of men getting heavily armed. You cannot directly control them because you have no leverage hanging over their head. You can't really exploit any division within the factions or within the population because they're very popular amongst their citizens. So even with all the propaganda campaigns being waged against them in the Western media, it really has no effect in terms of how the people feel about them on the ground. So that's why you've seen the Western powers pretty much being reduced to just sitting back on the sidelines and watching the events take place. It is what it is, man. Now let's continue. This person said, how can a company insist on continuing to operate in the country that they have classified as one of the poorest in the world? I don't understand anything anymore. Now that's a great question, right? They're going to denigrate the black man. They're going to say the black man don't got nothing to value, but they refuse to leave. That's what I don't understand. They refuse to leave, man. They refuse to leave. They're going to say the black man don't got this, the black man ain't shit, but they refuse to leave the black man alone. Let's continue. This person said, France continues to believe that Niger is a French state and that Niger's uranium belongs to them. This person said, all the time that they have been pillaging and plundering Niger's uranium with impunity in complicity with the French government, fatally impoverishing it, where did Niger file a complaint? It is Niger's property where you obey or you run away. This person said, they say that they are not dependent on our raw materials, but when we nationalize our deposits, it is they who cry. Fanon was right when he said, without nationalization of companies and agrarian policy, independence is an empty word. This person said, go dig at the Elysee to look for uranium, not here. Man, they don't got no goddamn uranium over there, bro. They over there building nuclear reactors and they don't even got uranium, bro. Listen, I believe they just unveiled a brand new nuclear reactor that they've been building for decades, right? And as soon as the nuclear reactor is ready for launch, they done lost their operating license at they done lost their operating license at one of the largest uranium deposits. The state-owned uranium company is going bankrupt. So listen, I don't know what they're going to do with that brand new nuclear reactor. I don't know if you're going to turn it to an Airbnb or turn it to a solar power plant or something like that. But, you know, listen, man, you got to turn it to a wine cellar or something, because I don't know what you're going to do with that, you know, big ass nuclear reactor if you ain't got no uranium, bro. I mean, you could go to Kazakhstan or whatever, but you have to pay the market price. You have to pay market price. You're not going to get it for the low price that you used to get it, bro. So you might have to destroy that nuclear reactor and turn it to a bunch of apartments and rent it out as Airbnbs or something, you know, so you don't, you know, lose all the goddamn investment or something. I don't know, bro. Let's continue. This person said, a company can never impose itself on a state. Even if they win the case, they will not be able to occupy the land by force. We are at home. This person said, first they say that they don't need us and that it is poor quality and they can get better elsewhere. Now they want to take it back by force. Africa is the only continent that has nothing that everybody wants. Exactly, man. Exactly. You know, like I said, our enemies are very arrogant. Enemies are extremely arrogant. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, there are several corruption cases between individuals from the former regime and Urano who agreed to pay bribes. These same cases will bring Urano down on this issue. Yeah, like I said before, man, all we got to do is wage a counter argument and talk about your unethical business practices, your long history of corruption, environmental damage. And by the end of the case, like I said, you won't be able to do business anywhere in a foreign country when we get done with you. So I suggest you just throw the case in the garbage before you embarrass yourself. Now let's continue. This person said, if this body is at all honest, meaning the court, wherever this court is going to be at, if they're honest, then we can seriously doubt that Barrick will owe billions to Mali like Urano to Niger, since they have been there polluting, corrupting, stealing, and not paying their taxes and duties. Exactly. That's all we got to do. That's the only case we got to present. Your long history of unethical business practices, your long history of not paying your taxes, your long history of paying bribes, your long history of influence the politics in the country. Man, listen, at the end of the court case, all y'all gonna look like some goddamn criminals, and the black man is gonna reign victorious and look honorable and amazing. Now let's continue. Matter of fact, we get this ended right here, man. Like I said, man, them white boys is mad. You know what I'm saying? The Western powers is mad, right? They lost their license. They mad. They don't want to go home, right? We told them go home. They don't want to go home. We told them go home. They don't want to go home. Can you believe it? You tell somebody, bro, I want you to go home. You're in my house. You know, you've been here. You've been shacking up, sitting on my couch, going into my fridge, drinking my juice, taking a dump in the bathroom, not even flushing, right? Going to the bathroom, taking a dump, not even flushing, right? Not even washing your dishes in the sink. And now I'm telling you to go home. Now you don't want to go home. This is unbelievable. I told you to go home. Now you want to take me to court. You've been going around stinking up the place, right? You're a terrible roommate. God damn, it's terrible to live with you, bro. You know, and I want you to go home now, but you don't want to go home. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Now I got to get you trespassed from the property. Anyways, man, it's your boy Neferkari Salim, back in the building. Yes, indeed. Cash App in the description. Support the channel, man. Support the album. Peace.
No. Feel like I'm 75. Know that your team be full of them traders. You know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wife, yeah, hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word and it's bond. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I'm eating no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. I never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news. Back in my city, they loving me. Standing alone, I'm 100 deep. Enemy plotting and still in reach. They trying to make sure that we underneath. Trying to make sure that we never make it. Coming for power, come get acquainted. Coming for everything that I wanted. Feeling like Drake, but I really wrote it. Feeling like Kendrick, I'm checking names. Gotta roll up while I go insane. Got so much stress, I been gained weight. Stuffing these racks in this Louis case. One thing for certain, I'm about to check. Keep it 100 and nothing less. Stick with the family since day one. Had to stay down till my day come. Had to stay down, but I'm never patient. Hop on the mic and I'm motivated. Hop on the mic and I drop a classic. Haters can't see me, they copping glasses. Back in the studio making magic. Got a new tape and it's in production. Back on my business, I got a budget. Staying low key when I'm out in public. Feel like I'm 75. Know that your team be full of them traders. You know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wife, yeah, hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word and it's bond. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I'm eating no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. I never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news.